Next, we'll talk about performance and running budgets. And neither one of these are very popular in parks, recreation, sport, and tourism, but they're used sparingly, so we'll talk about them in just a second. Sometimes the performance budget is referred to as the efficiency measurement, and it works best with things that are going to recur on a regular basis. So it can be readily developed and applied regarding the measures. So these actually work well, things like grounds maintenance, custodial services. When we think about like acres mowed, square feet waxed, number of floors covered with custodial stuff. There are a few different steps you'll want to cover with a performance budget. Number one, you'll want to identify activities that lend themselves to measurement. So, how can we measure a job, a task, or something like that? Then we want to create, test, and implement work units. So, we want to look at that as how can we really measure this, right? And we want to create those measurements overall. Then we want to determine the cost per work unit to be measured. So, how much effort does it take to create or do a task overall? Then we're going to look at the frequency of that. So, how often do we need to perform that? And then we want to organize the budget around that. So, think about something like waxing a floor, level 2 of a building, right? So, how can we measure that overall? Do we measure it in square feet? Do we measure it in a floor? Do we measure it per hallway? Something like that. And then we look at how much does it cost to wax that floor. So we're looking at supplies, personnel, and other things that may be incurred during that process. So if we look at the first thing, we want to identify activities that lend themselves to measurement. Think about, should it be possible for the work to be quantified into measurable units? So can we measure it in some way? Some things you can, and some things it's much more difficult. And then it should be possible for the quality of the provided service to be measured. So think about not just completion, but how well is it completed. And then we want to make sure that the performance should be able to hold constant. So something that we can achieve time and again and again. Then we can look at step 2 a little bit more further. We want to select work units that are measured in performance and time, something like acres mowed per hour, right? Then we want to establish the units. So do we use current work levels as a base, or do we adjust it immediately or adjust later? So, do we look at acres mowed, or do we look at ball fields mowed, for example? And then we want to determine cost per work unit. How much does it cost to mow an acre, or how much does it cost for us to mow a baseball or soccer field? Then we can look at determining the cost of our work units. So we select the work units that are measured in the performance and time. So we're going to look at acres mowed per hour. So if we do hand mowing with a 42-inch mower, we can look at 2.2 acres per hour. We do hand mowing with a 22-inch mower, we're looking at 3/4 of an acre per hour. So there's a big difference. And then we can look at gang mowing or group mowing, which is several people mowing at once, and we can do eight acres per hour with multiple units going at it at once. So let's take a look at this a little bit more. So we've got different activities, and here we can see how we've broken it down. So our activities are the softball diamond, gang mowing, pool cleaning, tree planting, right? So we can see the work units we've established. So softball, we're looking at per diamond prep cost. So it cost us about $9.45 to prep the diamond for the softball diamond. We have 18 of those. We have to do it daily. So overall, we're looking at 98 times we have to do that for the cost of $16,000. Then we can look at gang mowing. So we're looking at several different units mowing at once. We're looking at per acre. Our cost per acre is going to be $4.45. So overall, we're looking at that's for we probably have 4 or 5 people doing gang mowing at once, right? So we're really creating a lot of work for that $4.45. But the number of work units, the number of acres we got, it's 800. And then we have to do it every 10 days. So we have to mow 800 acres every 10 days. And we're going to do it 12 times overall. So that's going to be a cost of $42,000 and some change to mow everything. And then you can follow the other examples here as well with pool cleaning and tree planting. We have, we're establishing a work unit. We're establishing the cost per work unit, the number of work units we have altogether, the frequency that we do it, and the number of times we do it. So if we look at the frequency, we're talking about, is it one time we're going to do this and never do it again, or are we going to do it every day and somewhere in between? So overall, our capability to capture performance data has improved significantly with technology. And overall, the government is moving in this direction. So they're moving more toward what the private sector is already doing as far as performance-based budgeting. And then now there's a focus on results from the budget expenditure overall, both at the government level and at the private sector. So basically, it's looking at, are we getting our money's worth? Rather than just paying somebody an hourly wage and hoping they get it done within a certain time frame, we're looking at, this is how long it should take to do this task, and this is how much I'm willing to pay to do that task. Are you doing it, or are you not doing it? So the running budget, and this is a budget that is adjusted as situations change within the organization or program. So it can look at something it's helpful with is we have a big decrease or a big increase in revenue, and we adjust the expenditures accordingly, or as we anticipate something happening. So if we anticipate a large loss in revenue or a significant decrease in revenue, we can adjust our budget accordingly. So this is really attractive to nonprofits and other organizations or agencies that are heavily dependent on huge influxes of income or expenditures at certain times of the year or on a certain type of basis, right? So when I think about this, I think about the Salvation Army, and they do the bell ringing during the holidays, and they have a huge influx of capital during that time. So they have to look at that overall. And then it provides a lot of flexibility for operations and expenditures. So if we get a large grant or a large donation for a nonprofit, then we can look at, all right, so we just got a big influx of money. Where can we spend this money overall so that sometimes that has to be spent within a certain time frame with those grants and stuff like that. With our running budget, we have similar steps. We want to make sure that we can instruct the operating budget at the beginning. We determine the frequency of budget reporting. So typically this is monthly or quarterly. We want to establish our spending limits within our budget, so we understand and know where we're going to spend money. And then we're going to determine a frequency of budget reviews to make adjustments. So this could be monthly or quarterly with our reporting or otherwise. And then, lastly, we make adjustments based on that. So if we need to or have to make adjustments, we can within that time frame. So again, performance and running budgets are not as popular in our sector within the tourism, recreation, sports sectors, but performance-based budgeting is becoming more popular overall.